evening, friends! Good evening and welcome to Littleport Christian Spiritualists. It's a pleasure to see you all here. Familiar faces, regular faces we ain't seen in a while. And speaking of faces we haven't seen in a while, for the first time in at least 3 years, because there's the 2 years we were, it gives me great pleasure in welcoming to our service as medium and instrument. You all know him, we all know him, everyone at home, you're about to know him. It's Daniel Wright! And so, welcome, and of course, welcome to everyone watching live at home. Thank you for joining us, and to everyone in the hall. We are, of course, live on the internet, on Facebook and YouTube, so please do not swear too much because the microphone will pick you up. I'm assuming that I'm in trouble this week so far because the microphone's still switched on. I've charged plenty over the last 24 hours. We should get through this week. Fingers crossed, please, without a hitch. But welcome one and all. Thank you for coming. Different formats. I'm going to ask our medium to give us the opening prayer. Over to you, Daniel.
Good evening, friends.
Good evening.
Nice to be here. After the last 2 years, it's nice to be anywhere. I'm going to ask you to join me in opening prayer, please. I'd like to invite Wright Spirit into this spiritual centre this evening to bring love, healing, knowledge, wisdom, comfort, confidence, whatever you feel we need as we go along our path, Wright Spirit. We all know we take a different path, and we all know sooner or later we have problems on that path. And it's nice to know, Great Spirit, you're there with us, guiding us, leading us, or just supporting us in whatever we do along that path. So we thank you for that, Great Spirit. I also like to ask for healing.
And I believe,
Yep.
I hope, are we back?
Yeah, I think we are.
Excellent. Papa, can you hear me? Mama, can you see me? I give everyone permission with a mobile phone to have the volume up and see that it's working. Just people to miss out. Oh yeah, we're back. We're back. Yeah. It had to be that bit, didn't it, to lighten the mood. But hey, that's life. Well, sorry for the brief disconnection. I did jinx it, really, didn't I, by saying hopefully we'll be glitch free. But I digress. In the world of spirit, no subject is off limits. When it comes to spirit giving guidance and help to the world, no subject is off limits. And sometimes it can be difficult. Sometimes it can be laborious. And sometimes we have to look at ourselves and our own principles that conflict with our principles and ask guidance from spirit as to how that can balance out and work. I have said many times, many times, that the principle of eternal progress open to every human soul is for everyone, including those that we find distasteful or difficult and sometimes downright dark. And I stand by that. So how do we deal with life when we come across those people? We remember that there's another principle too. Compensation and retribution for all good and evil deeds done on this earth hereafter. But we're also reminded of personal responsibility. Another principle. It's a principle-filled night, my friends. Because we're reminded that in order to make earth as it is in heaven, we must play our part. Now, I don't need to say quite emphatically what I'm talking about because I'm sure you all know. But I'm not going to shy away from a difficult subject. Ukraine, Russia, Vladimir Putin. They say that religion and politics should mix. And to an extent, I agree. But when people are suffering and dying, we have a responsibility to speak, to make our voices heard, to try and make a change to the world. Because that's what we're here for, to make earth as it is in heaven. So how do we deal with that when we are conflicted by believing that everyone has the ability to change? To say that what is going on out in Eastern Europe, the responsibility of one man, is a fallacy, a foolish self-deception, because no one person can do such things on their own. They have support, they have help, and they have people that will follow. We have to differentiate between those that follow through fear and those that follow through personal gain. Absolutely. But we do know that there is a thing responsible for causing pain and harm to others. This cannot, should not, and will not be tolerated on a peace-loving earth as brothers and sisters of humanity. We can't allow it. So we must raise our voices and say no, enough, no more. That feel isolated and alone under leadership of a dictator must band together in unity and remember that we people give our leaders the power, and we have a right and a responsibility peacefully to take that power away. Those that we feel do not represent our convictions and our beliefs must not represent our convictions and beliefs. But of course, I did say that there's a difficulty because we believe that everyone has the ability to change. When I asked Spirit for guidance on that matter, they referred to something that they've referred many times before. Look at the life of a child. For in our childhood, it is a macrocosm, a preparation, a beginning for the world in which we will live. Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but I know full well that as a child I did things I shouldn't do. And I had to learn my mistake. Now, when it comes to children, it's called a naughty step. But when it comes to the wider world, when it comes to politics, when it comes to power, we simply say this. Those that support fear, those that support pain, must stand alone completely. When I was first developing, when I was learning what I needed to as a spiritualist, when I was unlearning all of the things that I'd unlearned past, I asked about heaven and hell. And although we are told a spiritual fiery pit, no damnation, destruction, and eternal torment, I was told that there is a place when we make mistakes and will not own up to them, will not admit to them, will not stand down. We are sent to a place of solitude, of isolation, of silence, but with a really big window where you can see the rest of eternity living and loving and appreciating the joys of peace and love and unity. And you are shown your mistakes, but you are shown one else is enjoying while you are committed to standing alone. I commend the world's leaders for opting to enforce a stand-alone position. I commend them to go further. We should not choose violence, but we should choose defense. We should choose a way of saying, you are wrong, you are alone, because you are not created in heaven. And if you want to point at that, one of the comments that's been made this week is that they who are seeking to control and cause pain to others want to be bigger players, to have a bigger world influence, I believe the news said. I don't know about you, but I've always found those who widely influence me are those who demonstrate kindness, openness, patience, love, sympathy, charity, good graces, and kindness. Those are the people that I follow. Those are the people that I want to be around. If you are in a position of high authority, you have an opportunity to demonstrate those gifts, those wondrous, joyful things. You have a choice of whether to choose them. So in my view, if you choose something different, you've chosen wrong, you've made your choice. And as my mother used to say to me when I made mistakes, I've made my go and lay in it until you decide that you've made a mistake. I learnt that lesson at the age of 8. It's such a shame that those with power and authority still have not learnt that lesson. But we, my friends, can continue to teach love and compassion and respect. We continue to share with the world the love that we share, the unity that we share, the compassion that we share as people who have had enough of pain, had enough of grief, had enough of misery. Stand up and be counted. Raise our voices and say no more. Many years ago, in the last century, Many people stood up to be counted. Many stood up because they thought a lesson would be learnt. It seems that the world needs teaching this lesson again, that love and compassion will always outwin when it comes to aggression. We need to stand firm, and we need to stand proud of our independence, our freedoms, and not be afraid to holler about them. Because only by showing the world what true love is can we make a difference. And please, my friends, do not think for 1 second that your voice is insignificant. Do not think for 1 second that you cannot make a difference, because you can, by speaking your truth, being loving, by being kind, by being charitable, by being good, and believing that you have a place in the world to say your piece, to say your truth, to demonstrate your kindness. And it's always wonderful to know that Spirit will bring me back down to earth with a bump when I get all high and mighty with a little tinkle. But the point is, my friends, as much as this is not one of my giggly, funny singer-song addresses, sometimes we have to stand up and be counted and not be afraid. This, more than ever, is that time. And so at this point, I send my thoughts and prayers out to everyone in the Ukraine. And I also send my thoughts and prayers out to all those who wish to have their voices heard in Russia. Because we know that one person and their group do not have the power over all of us to want and desire peace. To put it in the words of a writer that I follow quite avidly, and I am, of course, talking about Joseph Michael Straczynski, no ruler, no dictator, and no conqueror can keep a people imprisoned by force of arms forever. There is no greater need in the world for freedom, and against this, the parliaments of conquerors can never stand. They have learnt this once before. We will teach it to them again. My thoughts and prayers are with everyone at this time. Be free, be yourselves, and for God's sake, do not be quiet. God bless you all, and thank you for listening. Thank you. Well, now, friends, we ask Spirit to decide with a reading. Now, something that we've changed since you were last with us, Dan, is that we don't take our lead from the reading anymore. We take our lead and hope that the Spirit people of Alan all the way have been in spirit that I talked to and have coordinated their efforts. I'd be surprised if it didn't this week. But we those magical, wondrous words that we do and say, Reverend Alan, are you there?
Good evening, Littleport. Yes, I'm here.
Good evening, my friend. What have you and your friends in spirit concocted for us today?
Well, originally I did hope to be in the hall tonight, but personal circumstances has deemed that I couldn't be. And it's one of my favourite subjects tonight, and I think it will kind of wrap a bit round what you've been saying, and in these dark times that we are living. I also send out my prayers and healing thoughts to the whole world in general. But tonight's reading, I have read it before. I know I have, but it is a personal favourite of mine, and it's called Forgiveness by Bill Honeyfield. Forgiveness is a precious gift whose power is immense. It heals and mends fractured bonds and straightens those who are bent. The force of love has fickle traits, whose balance is easily tilted. A word wrong said or a gesture made can lead to feeling jilted. The closest ones can turn away, such pain can they inflict. All our efforts to make amends seem to make them sick. These burdens are all lifted by forgiveness being sent. The sender feels lighter too, no more anger being spent. It's not easy to forgive when we are hurt and sad. We need time to brew and stew to recover from something bad. Past events are just that. They are past and gone. It is now time to extend a hand and try to right what's wrong. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alan. Absolutely. An absolutely well-timed revival of one of your personal favourites, and I have to say one of mine too, Alan, so thank you.
No problem.
God bless you, my friend, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, have a good evening all.
We will. And in fact, Alan's reading something else that my friends mentioned earlier, because I'm like 5 minutes ahead, so I'm going to take advantage of it, because I like to. There will be those, and send out our healing thoughts. There will be those who will look upon people like us and say, what point sending out thoughts? What prayers? What good do they do? This. There is no greater power that each and every single one of us have. Believe it or not, that's your choice. But what I would say is that individual and loving. So never prayer the power of God to hear us when we're all talking united. Never underestimate the power of compassion when it is so universally shared and sent out in one place. And send out our healing thoughts to all those who are again and for the second time, no, even third, I'd like to include Paul and asked to mention the name Joe, who is very much in your comfort and strength. We always remember all those in the absent as well, not just out, all across the world in every single light that brings people together. And of course, those that are not in the books, in our hearts and minds, we include them too. So, as ever with the healing prayer, thoughts during the candle and music, and end with the word. As we say, Great Spirit, Father, Mother, God, here we bring unto you all those who are sick and suffering and in need of comfort, be they sick in mind, body, or spirit, that it may please thee to heal them. This we ask for those we know, for those we do not know, and for those who have no one to ask for them. We certainly ask for them now. Well, friends, thank you. And in the words of the song, I really can feel the love tonight being shone out from each one here and everyone listening. And so now, literally, I am going to pass the baton and hope that the baton stays batteried for the rest of the evening. I'm about to hand over, and with 1 minute and 52 seconds to spare, I might add, to our medium for the evening, Danny. So please send your love and thoughts out to him. I know he's going to say a few words too from his friends in spirit, but for now, give a big Littleport welcome while I plug him in to Daniel Wright.
Thank you.
All yours.
Okay. Just a little thing first. People ask me, can I prove there's a God? And I'll say to them, can you prove there's a... And they can't. So why do they want to know? Why do they want me to prove there's a God if they can't prove there isn't? I'll let you think about that. If anything over the last 2 years has taught us anything, it's if we got something to do, or if there's something we want to do, if we want to change our lives in any way, or try to achieve anything, don't hang about, just go and do it. Because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. And every day you get up, it's not just a new day, it can be a new beginning. It can be a time for you to make changes in your life. And change is very important in nature. Nature is all about changing. And we do have to change as we go through life. Sometimes we have to change our point of view on things. If you think the same as you did 5 years ago, you've wasted 5 years because you haven't learnt nothing. But I've heard people say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, when the kids leave school, or it's when I get the mortgage paid, or it's when I retire, or they make the excuse, I'm too old. You're never too old to make changes. Spirit wants you to be happy. And if you're not happy with what you're doing, change. No one's got the right to stop you. No one's got the right to say, no, you can't change. Because you change, you'll make me unhappy. Well, that's their problem. Your problem is to achieve happiness for yourself. And sometimes by doing that, and letting the other person or the other people cope with themselves, they find their own happiness. They realise, well, it was time to move on. So if there's something in your life, never make an excuse. If someone's offered you something, never doubt yourself whether you're good to do, because the person who's offering you whatever, they believe you're good in, they believe you can do it. So don't doubt yourself. Whatever's coming along your way, if it's being given to you, it's because you can do it. If you can't do it, have a chance to learn how to do it. But never let anyone tell you what to do with your life. It's your life. No one's got that right. Everybody's got the right to be happy. Everybody's got the right to walk away from something they don't want anymore. Everybody's got the right to move on. No one's got the right to stop you whatsoever. Yeah, they may try and blackmail you and say, oh, you're going to make me unhappy and all that. That's having to cope with what you are at that particular moment. You need to move on. If you're unhappy in any aspect of your life, relationship-wise, friendship-wise, anyway, and you should too. It's change. We don't learn to move on. We can keep having the same old rubbish at us. Until we duck it and move on, we don't learn nothing. People take advantage of us sometimes. claim your right in life. If you want something and you feel you want to say, don't do that. And in the end, if I tell you enough, you'll start believing it. Never do that. Always believe that you can do better. Go for perfection. Yes, you may not reach perfection, but you may not be far for it. Aim for the moon. Yeah, you might miss the moon, but you might hit the star. So never put yourself down in any way. Always believe and that you can change your life to suit you, not somebody else. It's impossible to change your life overnight. I realise that. It takes time. And you can ask Spirit, and Spirit can help you. The Spirit can take you forward, but you've got to do your part. If you don't do your part, you don't move forward. No matter how much Spirit wants to help you, you've got to do your part. Just finish off and tell about the man who wanted to win the lottery. Every week he asks, Spirit, let me win the lottery. This goes on and on and on for a couple of months. And one Saturday, you didn't let me win the lottery, Spirit. And he heard a voice. And the voice said, meet me halfway, buy a ticket. And that's life. If you don't buy that ticket, you don't move on. Don't matter who's about to you. Your own energy, your own power. No one's expecting you to be perfect. I'm not expecting anybody else around me to be perfect. But all you got to do is look back. Don't look back to see who's stopping you, because that's your imagination that someone's stopping you. You've got the right to move on without anyone stopping you. And I'm going to leave that thought with you. Thank you for listening.
And in spite of my best efforts, there's a problem with the sound. So I'm going to give you a moment just to prepare yourself for your mediumship. See, I thought, I've not given him a break between philosophy and mediumship. Will it be all right? Well, you've got a break now, because I'm going to put the other microphone back on. Sorry. It won't take a second, because guess what? I was prepared. As ever, and ready. It won't take a second. So can I give you that, and you can wander freely with that?
Oh, right. Never used one of these before.
It'll be like your roving reporter in the Spiritualist News. Bear with me. Right, I think we are back. Over to Danny.
If I come to you, please have an open mind. Please don't concentrate on a loved one. No matter how much you love them, no matter who they were to you. As you know, anyone can come through. Yes, it's nice if mum and dad or nan or granddad or uncle, aunt comes through. But it's not always family that comes through. It's sometimes friends, best friends, school friends, work friends. It can be a lady down the road or a man in a petrol garage somewhere. Be someone in a supermarket. It can be an old tramp you give 30 pence to for a cup of tea. Anyone can come through. So please don't concentrate on a loved one who you want to hear from. I don't have that power to demand people to come through. I can work with whoever comes through. And you have to remember, sometimes, it can be people you've absolutely hated. These people do come through, but they don't come through with any hate. They leave that hatred on the earth plane. That's what we're working through at the moment. And you only got to look at the world today, that the 8 is there. So when we go to the spirit world, we leave that. We've gone through that. We leave all that muck behind. So please have an open mind, okay? Sometimes I get 3 or 4 people coming through at once, so I'm not sure I'm going to first. Come to the 2 ladies over there. Are you friends or relations? Just friends or relations? Friends. Okay, I'm filming with the lady, the first lady here first. Okay. I have a man coming through. And, okay, I have a man coming through. And as he comes through, I don't see this man as a tall man. See him about 5'9", perhaps 5'10". But I feel he would be the man that works out in the open. I also feel that he would be a man who, how can I put it? You didn't know whether he was joking or not. So he would tell you things and you had to think, is he joking or is he real? You take a man like that? I also feel that when he was serious and you knew he was serious, you knew you could trust him. He would be someone that walked into a room, and if you saw somebody a bit down or a bit miserable, he would bring them up. He would not going to say he'd make a beeline for them, but he would work over to them and cheer them up, to anyone. I just feel this man was a really nice man. I feel also he would have passed early in his life. Don't see him as an old man. Would he have passed in his 50s? Because he said 55, so I was doubting that. But I just feel he would have passed. I also feel that his passing would have been very quickly as well. Not instant, not straight away, but I just feel that it was a slow passing and he knew he was going to pass. Okay, it weren't a surprise to him. It might have been to other people or some other people, but he knew he was passing. And he's saying before he passed, he tried to put all his affairs into place. He didn't want to miss other people that to sort out. He made everything right for people. Does that make sense? Okay. I also feel with him, I've got to give you the name Ted around him or around you, if you can take a Ted, and a Mary Ann. Take a Mary, it might be 2, it might be 1, Mary Ann. He's giving me that name as well. He also, I just feel, would you have kept pigeons? You're showing me pigeons. Would there be someone along the road with a pigeon coop or something? Okay, it's just showing me pigeon. Sometimes I'd get 2 or 3. But I feel this man, like I say, I just feel he was honest in what he had to say. I also feel that he was losing his hair as well. Okay, and I just feel that he would be someone who tried to cover it up. Does that make sense? And would he have worn an old berry? He's showing me a berry. Does that make... Okay, just showing me that. Okay. I'm going to ask him why he's come. I want to move on. I'm going to ask him why he's come. He's talking with you as though it's time that you started to spread out a bit and look around, see and make up what direction you're going in. He said you're a bit confused because you're not too sure at the moment. And he said you are one who doubts yourself quite a lot. Does that make sense? Okay, but he's saying that you're not reaching your full potential. So you've got certificates and things and you're not using them as much as you should be. Does that make sense? Okay, and he's saying, well, you worked hard for them and they cost you a lot. It may not be in money, but in friendships and things like that, because you was working for those certificates. He said, now you've got to put them to use. He said, because you're not going to help yourself, you'll be helping other people around you. I've got to give you the name Pauline. Okay, he's giving me Pauline. He also giving me Sid. Can you take a Sid? Okay, just hold that, okay? You didn't know someone that kept snakes, did you? Okay, right. I thought it might be Sid, okay? But he's saying, it's time there, use those certificates, make yourself a career and move on. Does that make sense? He said, you've been hanging about for someone, or you've been hanging about hoping someone's going to catch you up. Does that make sense? Okay, I can't change that. It's as though that you slowed down waiting for someone or something like that. I have to leave that with you. I can't change that. But he's saying, whoever it is, they will catch you up, but you can't wait for them. Okay? He's sending you a lot of love. He's also talking, do you play tennis? There's a tennis course. He's showing me tennis course. Did he play tennis? I don't think he did, actually, but he's showing me tennis course. Okay? He's sending you a lot of love, and he's saying thank you for being with him. He's saying about a short time. He's talking about being with him for a short time. Does that make sense? And he's saying thank you for that, because you gave me more. He's saying love, but I don't mean it in a relationship love. He's saying you showed me more love and many of people I've known for years and years. And he said, I'm grateful for that. And I'm going to leave that with you. Does that make sense? Okay, thanks very much. Okay. Come to the couple over there. Okay. Are you friends or relation? Both. Okay. With the gentleman. Okay. I have a man coming in. As he comes in, it's as though I feel this would be on the same level as your father or grandfather. I just feel that generation up. And first thing he's saying, I've got to apologise to you because there was things that happened in your life that shouldn't have happened. Does that make sense? Possibly. He's talking about there was things that he held you back or he didn't give you the time. Okay, I'm waiting for him to come a bit closer. I feel this man, I just feel he was about 6 foot, 5'11". I feel I don't see him as overweight, I don't see him as big build. I feel that he would be someone who would have been a manager or a supervisor. You take a man like that? Okay, I will bear with you. Does that make sense? No? I just feel I've got to give you the name Robert, connected to him or connected to you. I just feel this man, somewhere in his life he was in charge of people. He either told people what to do or he dished out work to people. Does that make sense? Okay. Also feel with him that he was someone who tried to make life easier for certain people, but not for other people. He picked and chose who he wanted to help. And he's saying, you was one of those I didn't want to help. Does that make sense? Okay. I'm not sure who he is, but I just feel he was in the next generation up. And he is saying, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have been like that. He said, because you showed a lot of potential and I never followed it up. And you had to wait some years before that potential came through when it should have come through much earlier if I had given you a chance. Does that make sense? For that, he's saying, I've got to give you Terry as a name around you or around him. And he showed me also that I've got to give you removal lorries. Does that make sense? He's showing me removal lorries. Not just one, he's showing me several. Does that make sense? Okay. I'm asking him, and he's talking about that with the removal lorries, someone was always on the move. Does that make sense? So, was you the one always on the move, or was it him? Okay, and he's saying that with that, although it wasn't something I made happen, he said, but while you was moving, no thanks to him, or no thanks, he's saying you learnt a great lot more through those. He said, I'm not taking credit for it. He said, because I shouldn't have done it anyway, but you did, and I'm thanking you, and I'm happy that you did that, because around that you helped more people than I ever did. And he's saying, if I had known that, I would have been more kind to you. He said, as normal, when we're in the spirit world, we see things differently, and I was totally wrong with you, and I apologise. Okay? Can you take the surname Green? Okay, he said Mr. Green. I don't know who he is, he's just telling him about Mr. Green. So I'll give you Mr. Green. I'm going to ask him why he's come. He's talking about that there's more work for you to do. He said, you're thinking of slowing down. He said, you might, but there's more work for you to do. And you know there is. He said, but it's up to you whether you do it or not. He said, you can turn and walk away, or you can do your best. He said, whatever is your choice. He said, but know that a lot of people are happy that you came into their lives, and there's people out there waiting for you to come into their lives. He said, it's up to you. You help people. It's your choice. Spirit can't tell you what to do. They can only be there helping you do it. Does that make sense? And he's saying, I'll leave it up to you what you want to do. He said, I've got a rough idea, but it's got to be your choice. He's also talking about health issues around you or someone around you. Does that make sense? Yes. He's talking about someone, what is it? When they test your heart, what's that called? ECG. Does that make sense? He said, whatever the results, take note. But don't let it stop you. It might slow you down a little bit, but don't give up what you're doing, because people need you. Does that make sense? Okay. He's sending you a lot of love, and I'm going to leave that with you. I'm going to come to the lady. Okay, I'm going to come to you. Okay. He's saying to you, he's laughing, he says, you never knew what you took on, did you? Does that make sense? He said, you never knew. He said, but you wouldn't walk away from it, and you would do it all over again. He said, he's thanking you because sometimes the gentleman did need your help, and you helped him. But then again, the gentleman helped you too. It's as though you went through a bad time, and the gentleman came in and helped you. Does that make sense? Okay. And he said, that is what spiritualism is all about, helping each other. He's saying with you that you've got a great knowledge, but you keep it within yourself. And he's saying, it's okay to pass it on. Knowledge should be passed on. He said, but it's up to you just to pass a little bit on at a time. He said, you can give some good words of comfort, and he said, you can give a short talk. He said, if that's okay with you, then you need to think about it. Does that make sense? He's also talking about putting pen to paper. Do you do inspiration writing, or do you do... Okay, have you tried inspiration writing? Okay, that's what I'm not saying you've got to do it, but he seems to think you could do it, and perhaps you should try it. And it's just a case of finding a bit of paper, finding a pen, and sometimes you start off writing a fairy tale, nursery rhyme do, and it goes into something much deeper. And just try it a few times and see what happens. I'm going to leave there his love with you, and thank you both for working with me, okay? I'll come to the lady sitting over the back there. Can I come to you? Okay. I have a lady coming in, and again, I feel this is 2 generations up, so on your grandmother's level. I'm not saying it is your grandmother, I feel it's on that level, but if this lady, I just feel, I see her with blue rinse hair, as though she would have gone to the hairdressers quite regularly, had her hair done. Does that make sense? I see a little bit overweight, not a lot overweight, but a little bit overweight, but a lady who had a great sense of humour. A better lady, there will be 6 children around her. She's talking about 6 children around her. Does that make sense? Okay, you think, okay, I'll take that as a yes. Okay, carry on. Okay. I also feel with her that she would be someone who would have either cared for someone or nursed someone in their later age. I'm not saying that would be in the family. I feel it would be at the family. She would have either nipped in and done their shopping for them or looked after them. You take that? I also got to give you the name Nellie. I know that's an old-fashioned name. She's also talking about that. Show me fixed snow. I don't know when the last time you had fixed snow up here, but she's showing me as though there's snow drifts and things like that. Can you take that? Or would she have come from a place like Scotland at have snow quite regular? Does that make sense? She's showing me snow drifts and things like that. Okay, I can also give me a bit more, it's not good enough. She's showing me also that she would be someone who, if one of the children needed telling off, she would be quite severe in the way she spoke to them. But she said, once I've done that, once I've spoken to them, that would be it, and I will show them love. She said it's no good telling someone off and all that if you don't find the balance and show them love as real. You need both. You can't have one without the other. You've got to keep the balance. Does that make sense? I just feel would there be a milkman in the family? She's talking about a milkman. Okay, so she's showing me an old milk float. I know we don't have them now, but she's showing me an old milk float. So whether it was a milkman or maybe the milk float was used for something else, but she's showing me an old milk float. Okay, you can take an old milk float at all? Okay, think about that, might be. I also feel with her, she was someone who, she's talking about taking you shopping. And she's talking about taking you to a Woolworths. Well, I don't know if there's a Woolworths here or in Ely or somewhere, but she's saying about going to Woolworths. Does that make sense? Okay, that's the link. So she's not telling me much more. She's just saying, I just feel this lady was a nice lady, a caring lady. Yes, she may have been a bit severe sometimes, but once that was forgotten, it was over and done with. Would this lady had problems with her leg? Was she used a walking frame or a walking sit at one time? Okay. And her partner, she's talking about her a partner or husband would have had a big garden or allotment, would have grown his own vegetables. If it's not him, it'd be someone around you that would have had a big garden, grown their own vegetables. There'd be no flowers in the garden or allotment, just lots of different plants, potatoes, one of beans and things like that, cabbages. Does that make sense? Okay. I'm gonna ask her why she's come. She's talking about with you as though you've got to, like Nick was saying earlier, you've got to stand up for yourself. Someone is trying to walk over you. Does that make sense? If someone's trying to force you to do something you don't want to do, and she's saying, just say no. Say no. She's saying that the person is not going to harm you or anything like that if you say no, but they need to know their limits. Does that make sense? You've got to claim your limits, and you've got to tell them that's your limit. If you want to go farther, it's up to you, not up to them. She seems to think that whoever it is, they're okay, but they're just getting above themselves and they need to be put back into place. Does that make sense? She said, don't think you can't do that. Just say no. Just say no. If you want me to keep being a friend, please don't push the limits. Otherwise, I've got the choice to walk away. She said, you don't want to walk away. She realises that. But at the same time, you've got to keep your pride and your limits, and they've got to respect your limits. She said, try it, and you might be surprised. And she said, if you learn that lesson, that'll be a lesson for life, that you've got your limits and no one goes over those limits. Does that make sense? She said, in the past, you haven't been too sure of yourself and you've got into situations you shouldn't have got into. She's saying, please learn that this is my limit. That's it. Okay? She's sending you a lot of love, and she's saying, sorry for being severe with you, but I had to tell it how it was. Okay? And I'm going to leave that with you. Thank you for listening to me. Okay? Can I come to the lady at the back in the white coat? Okay? Oh, sorry, there. Oh, getting caught up here. I'm moving away. Can I come to the lady right at the back? Okay? Okay. I have a man coming in, and I feel he's on the same generation as you. I just feel a slight difference in ages. I'm not sure what the relationship is. I'm not sure if it's a friendship or a relationship, but I just feel there was a connection between you and this person in a way that, how can I put it, that they passed to spirit before you really got to know them. Does that make sense? There would be a gentleman who got to know you for a short time, and you're not telling me how he passed. I feel he would have passed in an accident. Does that make sense? Okay, he said we had a short friendship, but it didn't develop into anything else because I had passed to spirit. Does that make sense? Okay, he's talking about that there was times when we were speaking that we really got into deep discussions and debates and trying to right the world. He said, we never did. He said, I don't think anyone can, but it's worth trying. He said, but I did find you very interesting, your point of view, and you won me over with some of my points of view. I realised my points of view was a little bit old-fashioned. So you brought me up to date. Does that make sense? You're saying you was very forthright, you was very frank in what you had to say. And he said, I appreciated that. He's given me the name Peter. Not saying that's his name, but it's either around you or around him. He's giving me Peter. He's giving me, would you have worked in a supermarket? He's showing me a big supermarket. Does that make sense? Would you have worked in a supermarket? Okay, I can't change that. Would you have met in a supermarket? What's it? It's just showing me a big supermarket. I'll leave that. I'll let you think about that. But he's also showing me that he was someone who, he said, I weren't the same as other people in the sense that I like classical music. Weren't too keen on pop music. Does that make sense? It's as though all his friends around him, they was on pop music, but he liked a bit of Bach and things like that. Does that make sense? You sure? I think he would have listened to pop music now and again, but his favourite was classical. I also feel with him would have been a dog around him. He's showing me a dog. Have you got a dog? He's showing me, would he have a dog? He's showing me a dog, but the dog's in spirit with him there. I can't. As he comes in, he's a little bit shorter than me, but I think he was a little bit broader than me. I also feel would he drove for a living? He's showing me lorries. Or would he have worked in a depot or worked within the lorries compound or something? Does that make sense? He's showing me lorries, lots of different lorries. I can ask him why he's come. He's talking about with you as though you're looking forward and you're wondering what path you need to take. It's as though you've been offered different things, or someone's said you should do this, you do that. And he's saying, whatever you think about what you want to do, but once you chose your path, you need to relax a bit more. Does that make sense? You say you worry too much. You worry about things going wrong. Whether you worry or not, if things go wrong, they go wrong. You see, even people that don't worry, things go wrong. But they can cope with it. When you worry, it's harder to cope with it. You see, once you find more relaxing, you say, but nevertheless, you've got a choice of what route to go down. You need to go down the one that suits you and not the one other people are telling you to go down. It's your life, you need to choose. He's also talking about as though, are you looking for a new career or do you want to do something new? Does that make sense? I don't know if he's changing jobs, but he's saying, that's possible, but you need certificates. He said, but you can get those certificates if you go on a course. It might be a bit hard for you, financial-wise and all that. He's saying, but the long-term benefits will be good for you. And it'll be good with that benefit, that path, it's going to give you a chance to help other people. Does that make sense? You see, again, it's your choice. Spirit can't tell you what to do. It's up to you to make your mind up. I hope you make the right choice because there's a big future for you. He's sending you a lot of love, and he said, I'm sorry that we didn't have a longer friendship because you taught me a lot while I was on the airplane. I'm going to say, he's sending you love. Thank you for working with me. Okay? I will come to Della. Della, it's a long time since I've seen you. Okay? I know we see each other on Facebook, but not the same. Okay, I don't know too much about Della, so also it's just friends. That's all for me and Facebook. I have a lady coming in. I feel this lady would be a mother in spirit. I just feel this mother was very, how can I put it, not controlling, but someone who really cared about you. That she used to voice her opinion in a nice way, but you used to get fed up with it. Does that make sense? You say, you, if I said something, you would throw your head back. And she's saying, I'm glad you did. And you didn't keep your opinions secretly or whatever. She's saying, I only cared that you was going out and being the person I want you to be. I feel that she didn't always like the way you dressed, did she? No, she's just saying, but she's saying, I realise that now that was life. That was everybody was doing it. He said, but I only saw you doing it. I didn't see anybody else doing it. She said, but I know now everybody doing it. I just feel this like I just feel a little bit overweight. I feel that she would be someone that loved to work in the garden. Plant roses, I think, was one of her favourites. I see her in an old, as I shouldn't have said old, but I see her in a cottage. Does that make sense? Just feel, she's showing me a brickwork cottage. Okay, I just feel with that. But I also feel with her that she was very proud of her home. And very, if someone came in and they moved something, as soon as they went, she moved it back. And she's saying, even with the grandchildren, I didn't mind them moving it, but once they left, I had to put them back in place. Does that make sense? She said, I know it's a horrible habit, but it's one I couldn't get out of. I also feel she's talking about eating a lot of custard. Does she love custard? She's talking about custard. She's also talking about raspberry jam. She's talking about, and was she a made jam? Okay, she's talking about, and she showed me the homemade labels on the jar. Okay, I just feel with her, she would be someone, if you didn't want to upset her, you had to mind your P's and Q's, not all the time, but you knew when she was in one of her moods, you had to be careful, not only what you said, but the way you looked. Does that make sense? It's just so, in a nice way, she's a sort of Jekyll and Hyde. Does that make sense? If she was okay, if she was a Jekyll, he's a nice one. She was Jekyll, everything's fine. But if she got up with that mood, Hyde, you had to watch yourself. Okay? You got a brother? You got a brother? Younger than you? Okay. I'm getting it. You got a younger man? You got a son? Okay, she's showing me a younger man, not in spirit, on the earth plane. Okay, it's as though she's excuse me. She's talking about him. She's talking about him as though, excuse me, it's gone down on the wall. She's talking about he needs guidance at the moment. He may not ask for it, but he might be hinting at it. Does that make sense? He says he's not the sort of person who likes to ask for help. He likes to think he's independent and I'm Mr. Big and all that in a nice way. I don't need anybody. He said, but at the moment, he needs guidance. That's all you got to give him. But you got to wait until he asks you, or find a spot where you can jump in and say, what about doing it this and that? Does that make sense? He said, he said he's not the sort of person that's likes to have help, but he does need a little bit of help at the moment. Okay, it's not serious, but it's playing on his mind. He needs some advice how to deal with it. Okay, he's coming back to you. She's saying with you that you don't use your talents enough. And I feel she's talking about spiritual talents. Does that make sense? And she's saying, you know, whatever, if you don't want to do it, fine. But if you ever feel like you want to do it, it's best if you did it. Because you can be an example to other people in a sense that you come from really not knowing nothing about it to someone who knows quite a bit about it. Does that make sense? She's sending you a lot of love, and I'm going to leave that with you. I'm going to come to your friend. Is it just friendship? Okay? I'm going to come to you. You may not know this lady, but she knows about you. She's saying, you're looking for, how can I put it? You're looking for something to hang on to. Does that make sense? Something to put your coat on, and well, it's as though you've got time, it's as though you've got space on your hands and you're trying to fill that space. Does that make sense? No? Yes? No? Okay. It's as though you're looking for something new. Or you're looking for, if it's not something new, you're looking to change something around you. Does that make sense? Okay, I get there. And she's saying, go with your own feelings. If you see something and you feel you want to do it, do it. You see, you know, it's better to try something and fail and to later on in life look back with regrets. That I should have done that, but I didn't. She said, if you fail, do it again. Keep doing it until you succeed. She said, because the definition of failure is, I haven't done it yet. So don't think about failing. You might need 2 or 3 different goes at it, but it's achievable. And she's leaving you with a lot of her love and hoping you can do that. Okay? Thank you for listening to me. Okay? Come to the 2, one more. Come to the 2 friends or relations. Pardon? Partner. Okay. Relations should have been enough. Okay. Come to the lady. Okay. Come to you. Okay. I have a man coming in. And I feel, again, this will be either the next generation or 2 generations up on them levels. Not saying it is your grandfather or father, but I feel as they come, I just feel this man will be someone who very much in your face with his point of view, very self-opinionated, but in a nice way. He'll say what he thought, but he would listen to what other people said. He said, didn't always agree with them, but I gave them that chance to say what they thought. Does that make sense? I also feel this man, he would have worked with horses, or there'd be horses around him, and he showed me working horses, you know, shy horses and Suffolk Punch and those sort of horses. And I just feel with him that he was an honest man. He said what he thought, but he's saying sometimes I opened my mouth too much and I got myself into trouble. And he said I had to leave some jobs because of that. Does that make sense? He said, but I wouldn't change a thing. That's me. He said, I had to say what I thought. Whether I was right or wrong, I had to say it. He said, I like to think most of the times I was right, but I know I wasn't always right. I also feel with him that he would either pass with a stroke or an heart attack. or would it be chest infection of some sort? Okay, I did feel a pain in my chest, and what's it? But he's saying that he looked back on his life, and he's pride of what he did, and his pride of his children that he helped bring into the world. He said, I wouldn't change that. He said, for me, that what life was all about. And he's saying, he's coming to you, he's saying with you, you've done really well for yourself in the sense that you've got plenty of friends around you. You've got people who trust you. He said, life isn't all about riches. It's not always about financial wealth we are, whether we've got a great big mansion. He said, it's whether we've got friends and are happy. He said, you can live in a mansion, you can live in a castle and not be happy. He said, but at the moment, you're very happy. He said, yes, you've been through bad times, but you've managed those, you've got over those, they're in the past, you don't look back. Does that make sense? He said, you're going forward and that's the way you look. He said, well done, because you haven't had the best of lives. Does that make sense? He's not telling me what you've done, he's just saying, he's saying there, he's saying, you got a good man with you. he's saying, it's good support. He said, but you support him as well. He said, that is life. That's what more do you want? He said, you both know each other. You both know each other's faults. He said, don't keep finding fault with each other. Does that make sense? He's saying that with a smile on his face. And he's saying, you know where you both want to be. Work towards it. He's giving you a lot of love, and I'm going to leave that with you. Thank you for listening to me. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay.
Well, on behalf of us all, thank you so much for a wonderful demonstration, and well done for coping with me jumping around in the background and not so much in the background. I'll turn the battery off that now. It's still broadcasting, but not broadcasting to anything again. I have a few more ideas, but I'll test them out after the service, ready for next week rather than during next week's service. Everyone's face looking at me with fear is what is he going to get us to do this time? But no, seriously, Daniel, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you back.
My pleasure.
We have missed you. And it's good to see you behind the table at Littleport Village Hall.
Always like this place.
Bless you. Friends, a big Littleport thank you. Daniel Wright.
I remember working with Shelley Lowe.
Yes, in actual fact, I think there's a picture of that laying about somewhere. I don't know whether I used it. I think I did. I'll see if I can find it for you later. And yes, I am aware, for those watching at home and remembering the service last week, that I'm in big trouble. I will be fixing it this week, but I've been rather busy, so apologies. But I'm sure for all the mediums here and at home, my father is bitching in all of your ears saying, why hasn't he done that photo yet? But I will, I promise. Friends, thank you for coming together in this sanctuary of friendship and love, and hopefully sometimes laughter, to continue witnessing the proof and truth of the world of spirit. We're going to be closing the service in prayer, and we'll be saying goodbye to our friends at home in a moment while we have the raffle, because it's not like they've got a ticket. But I do know that I frequently get in trouble if I don't do this. So get your screen grab ready. For this week's Bully Special Prize is about to be revealed. There it is. Get ready for when I zoom in. There you go. And now print screen and save. And then you can all have a copy of the lovely work of Hannah there. I'll just pop it back up before I mess it up. I'll try not to knock the
Try not over like I have in the past.
But no, seriously, thank you all so very, very much for your continued support. We are here for you. And there will be a bit of a special announcement next Thursday's service, but I'm going to keep extremely tight-lipped about what it is. Sometimes I give things away in advance, but not this time. It's too important to get it right first time. Our medium for next week is...
You want them first?
Well, no, just for now. I'll tell them next week's. Oh, of course, yes, because it's Dad's birthday next week as well. So we've got Carlos Galiana as our medium for next week. Because, as of course, next Thursday is the 3rd of March, which is Dad's birthday. But the thing in our family is that birthdays are always very, very close together. And if you thought that I was being deliberately stupid, now you know why, because there's my lead-in. Because before next Thursday is the 28th of February, which just happens to be Monday. I am forbidden for getting you all to sing happy birthday, but on Monday is going to be Mum's birthday. So rather than singing happy birthday, because she said I'd be in big trouble if I did, after 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, she's a jolly good fellow, for she's a jolly good fellow, for she's a jolly good fellow, and so say all of us. You said I couldn't get everyone to sing happy birthday. No. I followed the rules. Never give someone a loaded gun unless you know where they're going to point it. Your mistake. And on that note, my friends, seriously, I just want to say thank you all. I couldn't do this without any of you. But I will say that I could not have done it this last year without you, Mum. So thank you, and many happy returns, or else. And if you want to bombard her, Linda Brown on Facebook, 28th of February, next Monday, I'm sure it will remind you. Send lots and lots and lots and lots of pictures and memes and things just to keep her constantly pinging and pinging and pinging, because that would be quite funny. So, friends, thank you all. Let's join together to close this service in prayer. I really am going to suffer for that, by the way. Great Spirit, Father, Mother, God, we thank you for the opportunity to come together as friends, to unite under your banner of love and hope and friendship, to witness your proof, your truth, that love and light and hope are as eternal as the universe itself. As we send our thoughts out for each other, we send our thoughts out to the world, Great Spirit. We pray, we ask, we hope, and promise to assist in expediency, in courage, and in strength, for peace, for unity, and courage in this world. We know that sometimes we cannot have a big influence on the world, but we will try, Great Spirit, to have our own influence on this world as much as we can, and ask that you have as much influence as you can too in this time of difficulty and strife. We ask that you look upon each soul with kindness, with love, with compassion, as we know you do, and as we are and always reminded at this time, but especially this week, Great Spirit, when in times of strife, when in times of difficulty and in times of pain, we ask not that you move the mountain, just give us the strength to climb until we meet again in your name. Amen.
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 Well, friends, once again, a big thank you to Daniel Wright. And of course, we will be back next week on Thursday, the 3rd of March, 7:40. Carlos Galiana, medium, plus a special announcement. We will be here. We hope you will be too. From all of us here at Littleport, it's good night and God bless you all. Hit it, music maestro.